Sometime, somewhere, in the depths of a forest with winding paths and mysterious shrines, slip into the role, found a typo, slip into role of the enigmatic druids and mysterious sorcerers from times long past. Earn as much prestige as possible in this enchanted world by erecting runestones and standing stones, visiting the oracle site, and collecting mistletoe for your magic potions. Oh, it's mistletoe, not berries. I guess mistletoe has berries, right? A strategy game featuring countless challenges, plenty of gameplay options and strategies, and endless fun. Today, on the Board Boys,
the Druids of Edora.
So what I really like about this is they have the sometime somewhere for 5 of the languages on the back of this box. We got sometime somewhere. Netherlands is Uit Ergens. We have French, or du temps, or du monde, which I think is, at a certain time in the place in the world, or I don't know. Then we have German, which is Irgaduan, Irganduo. Oh, I guess Italian's a little different, but we got Sera una volta. But Spanish, they don't say sometime somewhere. They say y un momento y lugar indeterminados. It's a place and a time you don't know. So there we go.
Perfect. Is mistletoe poisonous?
Yeah, I think so. Isn't that what, didn't they? No, I'm thinking of hemlock.
Just curious. Also, this game, I don't know, with those little, I forget what they call them, the little pillars, but it just reminds me of Stonehenge.
Standing stones and something stones.
But like,
square stones and circle stones.
Where do you guys land on Stonehenge?
Rune stones.
What's
and
up with that?
Stones.
You got any cool conspiracy
do you
theories?
know that if you dig out under Stonehenge, there's actually full bodies underneath there?
Are they aliens?
No, just a moist. What's the place with the Easter Island heads? If you dig out if there's full bodies underneath.
I mean, like, they can do, like, ground-penetrating radar to figure that out, right? Like, what if there really is something underneath there?
I don't think there's anything underneath Stonehenge. I think it was standing.
But a few years ago, they came out with something that said, like, some of those stones are not, like, they did, like, tests on them to say that they're from hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I don't know. There are dragon stones everywhere, apparently.
Just 2 guys as strong as you lift.
Do you think giants used to live?
100%.
Like, just giants were playing around there?
I think giants still live in the UK.
We're going to have a quick Beau-ment with Mo because someone mentioned Eastern Island heads.
Should we introduce the podcast?
I mean, yeah, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
So Easter Island heads represent every time somebody would die on the island, they made an Easter Island head for them. And they weigh a lot. And the way they actually moved them was they tied a rope to the top, and a rope to the top, and then there was ropes off to the side, and then they pulled, a ton of people pulled on one side, pulled on the other side, and it walked it forward. And it's basically, they call it the walk of something. Moai. And that's basically how they moved them.
Wow.
And there is no bodies underneath them.
There's not? I thought there were bodies underneath.
No. Cam was saying that they're huge stones that were buried, basically, and the heads stick out of the top. But when they dug them out, there was huge bodies underneath. Which it doesn't look like that from the top.
No.
Not like human bodies.
I've seen a ton of
buried
memes that
underneath.
look like that. Where it's a buff body under the Easter Island head.
Do you think I could bench press one of those?
I think you could.
All right, perfect. Was that historian Jake approved? I don't know.
I think Bo did a nice job.
Perfect.
That was a good intro to this podcast.
Exactly. That's how we do it here at the Board Boys Podcast. We have a lot of
Beau-ment with Mo in the intro.
It's true. We got Cam back. Welcome back, Cam.
I finally took enough heart medicine to get back to a podcast.
Yeah. And we may have lots of children running around. You may hear some in the background, but that's how the Board Boys roll right now. So
why'd you bring Remy up?
We're having a good time.
He's hanging out with his mom.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, tonight on the podcast, we played The Druids of Edora by Stefan Feld. And this is your board boy, Antlerhead Rob. The guy on the cover's got an antler head.
It does.
That's not as impressive as the antler heads in Oak, however.
Ooh, that's true.
All right, it's your boy, 2 points, TK.
It's your boy, Mother Jago, Jake. That's an Adam Paul video game reference. There's Druids, if you've played that.
And it's your boy, the antlerhead guy from Oak, Cam. A.K.A. Big Boinker McDoinker, A.K.A.
Double Daddy.
Double Daddy. Yeah, I'm a double daddy now of 2 girls. So I've been calling, I don't know if my wife really likes this, but I've been calling my family the 3 amigas and Los Tres Chiflados now, which is the which is the female version of the Spanish name for the Three Stooges. So the Los Tres Chiflados.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Tim, you should have been board boy. 3 points gets 5 points.
Yeah, that would have been nice too. I probably scored 100 points that way.
Yeah.
A strong
It's
ability.
Flowers are good.
Cam, you were talking a little bit about some video game stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You want to hit us with
So
your
here's
little
my story. Because I have been playing a lot of board games on BGA, but not a ton of new stuff. So this will be my new game section. I bought a Steam Deck about a week ago. And this all came from, I decided I wanted to do a bunch of projects around the house, but like fund them outside of my normal income. So I had kind of launched in this story, but basically I have a ton of old video games and they're just worth a bunch and I don't really play like 90% of them. So I sold off a few games and made like $2,000, right? Twisted Tales of Spike McFang was in there. Got like 180 for that. If you guys
Never
ever played
even
that.
heard of that game.
So it's a Zelda style game for the Super Nintendo, and I think it's just worth a lot because it's pretty rare, but it's cool. It's a cool game. You go through like dungeons, and it's kind of like Link to the Past, but you're this little vampire guy, and you spin around and hit people with your cape, and you can whip around really fast and hit them. But if you whip around and hit him too much, your guy gets dizzy, and then he like spins around and falls down.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a cool game, and I sold a few others kind of in that vein where it's nothing like monumentally incredible, but I just helping people fill out chunks of their collections that are kind of hard to find, and I sold them at like a little bit under the price charting value at the buy it now. But I also put a bid on them in case I just wanted to get rid of them, And I called up JCD and Hobby to see what they would pay me for them, and they lowballed me so hard that like if they had offered me like 50% of the value, I might have just been like, yeah, I'll take $1,000 and go. But they offered me so little that I was like. And I was like, I know what you can sell these for, and they're like, yeah, and this is what we're offering. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Thank you for really trying to screw me, so that I went and sold these instead of like just kind of screw me and I take it, right?
Yeah, and we worked at a pawn shop, so we kind of know. We understand that you have to, pay.
I was cool to drive 1 mile and have it all done and get and then I get 50% of the value, they get 50% of the value, but like they tried to go even lower than that, so. Anyway, so I decided, hey, I want to put a fence like before like the hill on my backyard so that Gia can't run down this steep hill. I want to get an exterminator through because there's a couple different earwig or type bugs, whatever they're called, earwig or centipede or I don't know, those little guys.
Yeah.
There's a couple other things I want to do, but I'm like, well, I'll have a few $100 left over after all the stuff I want to do. Why don't I just get a Steam Deck too? Because I have a ton of PC games and so it's better than having a Switch. So I'm just kind of sitting on the idea, and the day like I drop a big eBay payment into my account, I'm like, well, hey, this is the ceremonial day to do it, and I go to the Steam Deck and the page, and it went out of stock that day. So I'm like looking around, and people are like, this thing's not coming back. I swear, the RAM has gotten so expensive, and so I'm like, well, I could just wait, but what if these things come back and they're like $300 more? Like, I kind of want to get it for So I was like looking at all this panic going off on Reddit, and I went to I was like, if I want to get a Steam Deck, I got to do it today from a third party seller before these shoot up in the aftermarket. I got one for like $40 more off of Walmart.com from like a third party distributor, and I kept calling it a Steam Deck or a Scheme Deck until it arrived because I wasn't sure if it was a real one or not, like a Temu. But I felt pretty vindicated because like 2 days after I did it, they're all like double the price in the aftermarket now. So your boy got a Steam Deck, and there was a bunch of interesting stuff that happened to get me there, but it was not really that good of it wouldn't be a good movie. But
yeah, we just got one of those like retro emulator Game Boy things, like the form factor size of a Game Boy, but they have the SD card in it.
Those are awesome.
5,000 games. They seem great. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and here's what I did. The first thing I did with my Steam Deck after I turned it on is I went and I downloaded a RetroArch. Are you guys familiar with RetroArch? Yeah. It's just a front end for like every emulator. So
that's exactly what's on those Game Boys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just went and downloaded every single game I sold.
Right. Yeah. And plus another 4,000.
I put them in a folder. Well, sure, but I put those games specifically in a folder that said like Dead Homies Sacrificial like funding or something like that. And so now I can play Twisted Tales of Spike McFang on my Steam Deck. And
I thought you maybe were like going to be principled and just never play them. You like put them off to the side and you're like, I can't ever play these.
Oh, maybe I never will. Like maybe I haven't played any of them. I just downloaded all of them and so.
But isn't there like I'm not a huge retro video game person, but aren't there people out there that like love the original stuff and like the old tube TV?
Yeah, I have a tube TV.
Like there's something to be said about like the reaction time or
there's
something.
Certainly. Reaction time is something. So reaction time was really bad in emulation not too long ago. And if you're playing on like a newer TV from like an old thing, TV technology has increased where you can sort of like reaction time's not as bad, but emulators have especially really gotten a lot better at, response. But you might have to like configure, like whatever, like refresh rates or whatever. I'm not a tech guy really.
On that note, when I used to play Super Smash Brothers competitively, that was kind of the era where everybody was transitioning from tube TVs to more of your flat screen style, and like you just couldn't play it competitively on flat screens because it lagged behind your movements, and so it was basements filled of all these really old like tube TVs is what we played on. But I know it's a lot better now than it used to be.
Yeah, but I still do have a tube TV with my Super Nintendo and Nintendo and Genesis and stuff connected. So yeah, I'll miss all those games, but
their sacrifice is worth it.
The sacrifice is worth it.
All right, I got just one game I want to talk about. So I played Sweetlands, which is by Totsuka Chuo, and it is, I don't even know what the publisher is. Ubacha Koya is the top one on there. Crowd Games Devere. Anyways, I put it on a Tuesday with Al and Ben, and it was a lot of fun. It is heavy, and it can take a really long time. It took us over 3 hours to play the game. I think subsequent plays can definitely go faster, and also just the way that it works, a lot of what is happening can happen simultaneously for the most part, so I think that can help cut down in time too, but it's always going to be a long game. But there was a lot of really rewarding things about it. The theme is fun, that you basically are in like King Candy World, and you're building on a map. There's some kind of Castles of Burgundy vibes with the hexes and putting things out and getting rewards when they flip. Other than that, there's so many different scoring categories. There's definitely a fun push and pull between when you flip tiles, you are either getting income in resources or you're moving forward on the tracks that effectively score things. And if you're not scoring those, then that's obviously going to be detrimental later in the game. It just was, it was a lot of unique mechanisms kind of tied together. It definitely had kind of a terraforming Mars vibe to it a little bit as well, in the fact that on your turn, you are always going to play at least one card. Even if you don't play the card for what the card is, you still have to discard the card to take actions. And then based on how many times that action has been taken, you discard more cards. So there's a fun little economy engine with how long your turns are going to be and having the resources. Really what you get for income is largely what you're going to get for resources. There's not a ton of way to eke those out mid-round. And I think that is a lot of fun too. So it definitely left me with not having done almost any of the options of the things you can do, which is very much something that drives me back to games. So I am very eager to give it another try.
Do you think, for me, there's like the disconnect between the Candyland type theme and like how heavy it is almost feels like it's a detriment to how the game will do.
I think that's probably true. I also just don't know how available it is. Like I've never seen it anywhere outside of like the people that got it at Kickstarter.
That company is basically Kickstarter only.
Okay.
The Ostia was a really big game for them as well, and that was impossible to get outside of the Kickstarter.
Did any of you guys kickstart that one?
Mm-mm.
No, I looked at
almost
Sweetlands. I looked at it so many times, but then I kept thinking it was a really light game, and I was like, I don't want this.
Yes, but so like a random person walking into a board game store isn't going to see Sweetlands. Okay, well that's okay then. But like I could see where
I completely agree with you. Looking at the but I mean, granted, it's a really big box, and I think that probably dissuades some people from that. If it was a small box with that art, I definitely think somebody could be hoodwinked. But it's easily a 4 complexity. It's
a 4 point. I got it right here. Hold on. 4.14.
Yeah, but I liked it. It's you definitely got to like heavy games. You got to be somebody who's willing to kind of wait it out. And it definitely is one of those games too where depending on the economy of your cards, you might be done way before somebody else. Like I was usually the first one out, even though I did very well. So there were times where it was probably 30, 40 minutes of me being done with my round and other people still going around, which you got to know that going in, I think, to enjoy it. But I liked it a lot.
The other one I wanted to talk about was Wispwood from Czech Games Edition. The designer's Reed Ambrose and the artist is Stefan Drostok. And Wispwood is a game that came out at Essen. It's on BGA and Alpha right now. And we got a physical copy that we've been playing.
It's also on Yucata.
Is it really?
Yep.
That Yucata finally added a new game after all these years, huh?
It's on the banner.
Weird. That's a weird game to go on to Yucata. I don't know how they'd choose those games. But Wispwood is a tile laying game akin of Cascadia, I would say, where there's there's 5 different wisps. The way they score is different every game. There's different cards for how they score. And there's 2 different like 1 paw print and 2 paw print for like complexity. And you basically take a wisp, and on each side there is a Tetris shape. And you pick one of those shapes to make, and then you take these tree tiles along with the wisp to fill in the rest of that shape. And the first round you make a 4x4. At the end of that round, you take all the trees away, but you leave your wisps in the grid. Then you make a 5x5, and you take all the trees out, and then you make a 6x6, and then you score. So you're going to increment your score of each of those things. Like your score starts to really balloon up in rounds 2 and 3 because you're going to rescore all the wisps you had previously. And then there's a way that trees actually score too, which is kind of cool. I do not really care about these kind of games. I actually got rid of Cascadia. I think I really like this one. I think Cascadia, I don't know why I got rid of it.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Cascadia is awesome, and it's the game where I coined the term nugget.
Yeah,
So it's an official Board Boys history.
These games don't really... I tried playing Cascadia with like family and stuff, and I think they found it too complex, like some of the scoring and some of the ways. Like I know there's like a family mode or whatever. I think Wispwood is easier than Cascadia, maybe. And I really like the growing grid. Like it's really weird. Like the only downside I think is like this game really could use like a playmat kind of, but then like
I was just going to ask if there was a playmat.
No, but then like that'd be hard because you can change like your 4x4 could be like in the upper corner or the middle. Like it would be changing. You would need like a really big playmat.
It gives you like a little grid holder, but I don't know how helpful that
I think
thing.
that is helpful.
Okay.
After round 1 to kind of figure out where you're at, but you're constantly kind of counting spaces.
I think
I just can imagine like pulling your trees back out, bumping your wisps. And
there is a little bit of that.
Like,
yeah, that's really the only
exactly
downside to it. But I think it's neat. Like haven't seen a game that kind of do that before. Like working with blank space and then like then reinstituting it.
Well, and because you're building shapes always in and not just individual tiles as well, that makes it challenging because you got to be thinking about where it's ultimately going to leave. And so many of the wisps score based on what they're touching.
Plus, you have a cute little cat that sits in there.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I think the thing that's going to make me think it's good long term is the variety of different ways things score. If it was something that just scored one way and that was it, you'd play it a couple times and I think you'd probably be over it. But I think there's a lot of flexibility in that.
And it's fairly short. Like it's probably Cascadia length, like 45 minutes or so. So
yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised with it.
Anyway, if you like tile laying, goal scoring games like that, check it out.
The guy from AEG probably thinks that an AI could have made that game, though.
Probably.
Did you guys hear about that? The guy from Alderac Entertainment got fired because he was talking about how AI could make games like Cubitos, and he name dropped another game, and AEG didn't like what he had to say, so they were like, "You're done, dude.
You're outie."
Yeah, this is board game drama.
All right, Rob and I got to play the new expansion for Trickerion, which is the Dark Merchant. Is that what it's called? I don't remember what it's called, but it is a Dark Merchant. So what it adds is a little extra side player board of a merchant that kind of runs around to 3 different areas.
It is the Arcane Arts expansion.
Arcane Arts, okay. So it can either be in the marketplace where you buy your goods. It can be downtown where you get like the extra people and money, and it can be in the dark road where you get the extra cards, right? And every round is going to move around. And if you place your person in, like if you place a card for one of those areas and the merchant is there, you can then instead put your person into the merchant, right? The merchant, you can buy extra guys. There's an extra guy per round, which is an extra worker that you can get that have special powers. You can buy, I'm going to say they're wild resources that you can then use to load your tricks. And when you load those onto a trick, they go in that trick and then they're gone forever. It's not like the other ones where they stay on your board the whole time, right? So you have a wild and you just use it for this one trick. And then the third thing is you can juice your nuggets. I guess they're nuggets.
Yeah, the little shards.
Yeah, your shards. Yeah, from a level 1 to a level 2. And the level 2s let you use them for 1 power with your in the theater and 2 power everywhere else.
Yep.
And then the
Where
last
you can't normally use crystals in the theater.
at all. Yep. And the last thing you can do is when you use a trick that has a wild on it and you perform it, you get a bonus depending on the die and the I don't know, whatever the symbol is of the wild. So you can manipulate those die in this area. I thought the expansion was fine.
Yeah,
I mean-
I don't know. I thought it looked cool because it was small, and I thought it'd be easy to throw in. A lot of it just wasn't that interesting to
Yeah.
me. Like, I thought the new workers were cool, like the 4 special workers. Everything else, like, I won the game and I kind of ignored the expansion, so it's not like I don't think the expansion is super overpowered, but it just felt clunky to be like, it was cool to be able to use the special things to enhance the trick to make it cheaper to maybe do tricks you couldn't do. But then, like, when you perform the trick to actually get the bonus of the thing on the dice, like, that was a lot to, like, grok together,
Yeah.
I think.
It felt like
Like, the rewards were good,
Yeah.
I think, but
it was
ultimately, like, I like the Academy expansion better, I think.
Yeah, it felt like there was a lot of restrictions on the expansion. Like you had to have the same symbols to load it up on the trick. So there were 4 of the like wild resources out that you can buy from, and those don't reload until the end of the round. So if like there wasn't a bunch of matching ones there, you couldn't put 2 onto a card anyway. And then on top of that, when you performed it, it had to match the dice. So it just felt like there was a lot of like restrictions around that I don't know. It take it or leave it. Like I would rather probably play with the Academy or something. And Trickerion's too heavy to add everything in all the time.
Yeah, so I mean, just kind of pick and choose what you want to do. I think the next time, I think I played with the least in that game, I think, is the little artifact.
Contraptions.
That's it, the contraptions, which you play with instead of the magic powers, which the magic powers are the thing that makes that game completely bonkers.
Yeah, I was not a fan of those.
We
either.
played all of the juice one time, but you pick because you pick contraptions or the magician powers, and you can do some wild stuff with the magician powers.
Yeah, like take 3 actions before anybody else can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It felt real good. For me,
Mhm.
anyway.
Yeah, for everybody else it didn't.
All right, tonight on the podcast, we played the Druids of Edora. It is currently ranked 1880th overall. In the Druids of Edora, you gain prestige as you wander through the magical forest, strategically placing dice. It came out in 2025. It is 2 to 4 players, best at 3 or 4, 60 to 90 minutes, ages 14 plus. The weight is 3.06 out of 5. The designer is Stefan Feld, the artist is Fred Gisubel, and the publishers Alea and Ravensburger. It is also currently rated 7.9 overall. So 7.9 for 1880. Jake, why don't you talk about what we do in the Druids of Edora?
So each of the players is going to be at a different starting point on the map, which is something that you build out based on player count. So you have all of these squares that are rotated, and the orientation and the side is randomly determined, which is going to kind of determine where the clearings are. But you are effectively moving your druid, and then you are placing one of your die that you have available on one of the 4 spots in each of those clearings. Is the name of the whole thing, right? Or is each individual spot a clearing?
A clearing is all the greenery that's connected.
All that's connected. So
clearings are broken up by the dark forest areas.
So you will effectively pay amount of provisions based on how far you travel, and then you are also going to pay amount of provision that aligns to the number of pips on your die. So the higher the pip, the more you are paying, but the better chance that you're going to maintain control over that area, which at the end of the game, there is an area control scoring that is also, there's a reputation track that's a multiplier for. So you're kind of balancing out lower pip, so lower cost action versus higher pip, better chance to score points later. As you are taking those actions, you are either gaining additional dice, you are gaining provisions, you are moving your reputation track, you are gaining berries and brewing potions, you are claiming different goals or milestones, you are claiming, I think they're called amulets that go on your board and are going to be activated a certain number of times that also contribute to points, or you are doing your scythe action, which is cutting these different flowers, which are going to give you upgrades. So there is 15 dice, I believe, total that you're going to potentially have the option to play. If ever you get to a point where you don't have a die available or you don't have enough provisions to take that turn, then you just gain a die and 6 provisions to set yourself up. If that happens, though, you may not be able to play all of your die. There are several different things that are interconnected. There's automatic points that are earned if you have the highest die in a space that has multiple die. and you do that until somebody has used all of their available dice, and that is the end of the game.
All right, let's take a break and we'll get back into it.
All right, we're back. Initial thoughts time here on the Board Boys podcast for the Druids of Edora. Campbell, this is your first rodeo with this bad boy. What do you think?
Well, you told me we were playing a Feld today, and I was like, slam dunk, because everything he makes I like. Not that doesn't mean everything he makes I love, right? But when you started explaining this game, I was like, this is going to be fine. And when we started playing it, I was like, this is like such a cam game. Like everything you do it like is exactly what I like in board games. Does that mean there's like a 3 boing for me? I don't know. We'll talk it out, but it definitely was suited towards the way I play games. So had a great time.
For me, I'm a big Felda stan, similar to Cam in that regard. And as soon as I saw a game was coming out by him, I was into it, and I really enjoyed it on my first play, and was happy that I owned it.
I could have cared less about this game. like I don't. Feld's fine. You know, I like some of his games. I don't like some of his other ones, but
Tim loves Marrakesh.
yeah, Marrakesh is one of the worst games I've played. But no, I'm just kidding. That's probably more of a joke than it is at this point in time. But I mean, like the theme of the game's not. It's very run of the mill. It seems like, but on first play, I was more surprised by that I liked it than I thought I was ever going to looking at it. So
I mean, it's a Feld. You can put any theme on it.
I wish he would put something else on some of these games. Like it's either Mediterranean or like these, fantasy weird. Like I don't know.
Well,
Civolution, excuse me.
It would be tight if he to me. This is what the bummer, and we can talk about cons. This game should have been in the bonfire universe. Like who cares about druids? This could he could have bonfired this up with those little Yodas.
That's true.
And it would have fit really well, I think.
This could have been about delivering fast food at Sonic too, and it probably would have been way more fun.
Yeah, it'd have been way better than Food Chain Magnate.
Sure, yeah.
I think it should have been about the Yodas. Do you agree, Jake?
I think it would have been neat to build off of that. I mean,
the Yodas, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different publisher, I think, so my guess is...
Yeah, that's Pegasus Spiel, isn't it?
Yeah, so
true.
It's probably not in the same thing. My initial thought was, I've been so over the Feld redo of all the giant
Queen
big box
games.
of the Queen games thing that I was Felded out. I like some of them, don't get me wrong, but I kind of let this one drop under my radar. And at BGG Con, I didn't really prioritize it to check it out. And I walked by some people and I was like, hey, what do you think of this game? And they're like, you just score points all the time. And I'm like, well, that's a Feld. And on the way home, I actually bought it while we were driving in the car.
You were driving and you're getting upset because you're not getting
You know
enough
what?
points.
I want that.
I need to get more points.
Yeah. I ended up getting that and one of those little marble run Christmas present things that Ravensburger makes that I can't remember the name of right now. To get free shipping, whatever. But they had it was around Thanksgiving, right? So it was on super sale and it was a brand new game and it was the only place to actually get it because this wasn't a Kickstarter or anything. It just wasn't out in retail yet. They were just selling it from their web shop. So my initial thought was it's maybe a coming back to the ground Feld game, his classical smaller box type roots.
This does feel very Feldy roots, except for that it's shorter than the roots Feld's games. This is the same length as
Notre Dame. I think it's pretty similar
Notre
to that.
Dame maybe
Carpathian.
or what was the sequel to Castle of
Tuscany?
Castle of Tuscany? It kind of reminds you of that. This could have a slightly more complex counterpart, right? Although this is more complex than Castle of Tuscany for sure.
Definitely.
I mean, this is so for pros. I really like the box size. I like the production. I like the game length. I like that this is a return. As far as his short quote unquote games, so this is 60 to 90 minutes, I would say, or with 2 players, you're probably looking more 30 to 45 minutes. I'm going to get ahead of myself. This is my favorite, lighter game from Feld for sure. To me, I don't know what Burgundy is weight wise. 3 feels high to me at this game.
I
but
think
like,
3 seems
but
high
like
for
this
too.
game, I think is easier to play than Burgundy.
I would call Burgundy a 2.5. I'd call this a 2.25 kind of.
I think Burgundy's probably higher than that. Like, I think the more we've played it, it's so easy to forget how overwhelming it is right up the front for every brown building to be different.
Yeah,
like
true.
when you see those, if brown was one action, I'm totally with you. But I think it's probably not as heavy as. But I don't know. We sometimes get lost in that we just play a ton of complex board
It
games, so
is,
things seem
but, like,
light.
all of these games, and I guess when you talk about the technology and then when I'm talking about the lightness of the game, I guess I'm talking about moving around on the board and doing a dice and picking an action. That part's pretty easy, but having to keep like the potions in mind and then like your little flower technology thing in mind, that's where it can get a little more. That's where the extra juice comes from, I think.
So BGG has Druids of Edora being heavier than Castles of Burgundy.
Yeah, I don't think that's...
Which they have it at 3.06, and they have Castles of Burgundy at 2.97, both of which I think are overshooting it. But I could be wrong.
I think one of the things I like the most about this is, it's a pretty tight 15 turns if you are able to take all of your turns. I love the dynamic of I have X amount of dice, I have X amount of provisions. I'm looking at the board to see what it is that I want to do, but am I going to be able to am I going to put myself in a situation where I'm not going to be able to do something next turn? So managing all of that together is really interesting to me. And I also just love the fact that the board is unique every time. You know, how it gets put together, what is next to what, the paths that connect the different pillars that are on the edge. There's just a lot that's going to vary game to game that I think that is going to bring some back to it as well. Also, you just cannot do everything you want to do. And I think that's really fun, too, as you're winding down. I have this amount of turns left.
I would say the first game I played, I did everything I wanted to do and more. So,
I mean, like you did both sides of your amulet. You got to the end of your side track. You brewed potions. You completed a whole bunch of goals.
I mean, we were playing 2 players, and he doubled my score. So part of that was on me, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
there's if you have a high multiplier for reputation, there's always more clearings you can slip
also,
into.
It depends. Like, it's cool. You can only ever have 1 dice and 1 clearing, and you flip the tiles, and the whole board's modular, but you flip the tiles based on the player count, so there's 1 spot for every player. And depending on how those flip, I guess I don't really know, like, how it changes the actions. Like, how many... I haven't counted, like, all the spaces and the double-sidedness and I'm wondering if, depending on how you flip the tiles, if they're always equal? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to think about as far as counting how many of each action are out there on the board and where they're located.
Oh, yeah. Probably, right? Feld does like things to be balanced like that. This kind of reminded me of Castles of Burgundy in that I felt like I could do a lot of it, but not like... In Castles of Burgundy, I feel like I can fill like 3 colors or like, get all my city done and all my animals or do all my tech and do, this is kind of the same thing. Like I kind of had to avoid potions and I only took 1 amulet action, but then I like gangbustered like a lot of the other stuff. And I think that it feels good to be able to like complete a couple of tracks, as it were.
I mean, any game where there's a technology where when you get 3 points, you get 5 points. To me, that epitomizes what Stefan Feld games are.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty funny.
It'd be even better if you had a technology where if anytime you get a point increase, you get 1 extra point. Double combo that up.
I like the area majority type thing and like the costs associated with that. So like managing your provisions and your dice pool the whole game, that's something you have to do. It's not something you want to do. Because like, there's actions out there just to take dice and to take provisions, but there's other ways to get that. So like there's multiple different ways to do kind of everything based on sometimes you get it from a potion or with your amulet or kind of the symbols to do stuff are located in lots of different places. So how you piece that together is the fun of the puzzle, I think.
Yeah, all the resources are in all the actions. Right. So
I think so. Yeah.
So
like, super wobbly.
Yeah, if you take a contract, you can get the bonuses between the 2. The campfires give you the same bonuses.
And like,
jewels.
there's no way. I don't think there's any way you could ever do everything in this game because, and by everything I mean like, if you finish your amulet, like you're not going to finish your amulet.
That's minimum 6 actions.
Yeah, you're not going to finish your amulet, and you're not going to get to the end of the reputation track And
all 6 or
and you're
two
not gonna
sets
get
of 6 of the different monuments out there. I mean, there's 12 of those to get out.
you're not going to get all the there's 12 monuments, and you're not going to then get like maybe 5 or 6 objectives. Like I got my starting objective this game. I never touched that. Like I can't imagine being able to get all of the things all the time. And like you can, and then on top of that, making the connections between the colored pieces on the board to pick those up, that you can do along with kind of everything else. And then planning on how you're going to get like the bonfires to get the extra bonuses, to get the extra juice to keep going. But like the main things are like, you can't get potions are an action that you can only get by taking the action. So are the amulets.
So are the buildings.
So
and,
yes.
yeah.
And like,
so those are the 4 things.
and the end game tiles.
So there's 5 things you can't like wobble into from other actions.
Although you can kind of do those via the potions. There's a couple.
Everything's up.
Oh, yeah. The potions.
There's a couple of options
huh?
from the potions.
So I guess to clarify my point earlier in regards to what Tim said, I think in what you are doing, you can get to a point where you've done the things that you want to do for the things that you're doing, but there's still also so many other things that you could do. It just may not ultimately be worthwhile based on the way that you've set up the current play. And I think that is really interesting in it.
Yeah, for me, I don't know what else I would want more to do in this game, right? You're not going to max out every single of the 6 actions or whatever, but like you will absolutely hammer the things that you've done. And I couldn't even imagine being that game that I played with that was 2 players. Like the last turn, I was like, I don't even know what to do. It's like it felt like I was done with the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
I have never run into that problem.
My first game,
I think, hold on, I think Cam was probably in the same boat at this game. We were just like, the last action was like, oh yeah, okay. I mean, I can do some stuff, but it's not
with
like
the last action. No, I utilized my last action was one of my highest point actions of the entire game.
Okay.
I finished off a gate, and I moved my reputation marker to an additional point.
And you had a lot of areas.
Yeah, I had 12 areas, so I think my last action got me like 30 points.
I think the thing that I've done the least of in all my plays is getting more of those objectives. And those are cool because they also give you stuff. So everything in this, the game loop in this is just super fun, into the fact that you have like a 7 things you do on your turn kind of thing. And at the beginning, it's usually move, pay some provisions, place a dice, pay some more provisions for that. Then you're probably doing the action, and that's it. But later on, you're also, oh, my dice is bigger, I'm getting 2 points. Oh, I surrounded this thing, I get the campfire, and I get some bonuses. Or I connected these 2 areas, I get points for that. And then, oh yeah, I get some, I moved my little scythe over and I cut some flowers and I get some special things. So all that just feels good. And like when you get one thing, it usually gives you something else. And then it's deciding how you want to do that. Like when you can put all those like little pillar things out on the board, and all of those things give you the option to get all the other things you need. And then through potions, I don't know. It's just.
So I want to add one more thing to something we've already said before, but we talked about the balancing and the maintenance of your having dice and having provisions, but there's also something to be said about being efficient with your route on the board and not putting yourself in a situation where you're more or less stuck, or you have to pay an enormous amount of provisions to get out of it. So there's all this interplay of what is the order of which I should sneak through things. And for a Feld, this is really interactive in the fact that there were so many things through the course of our game where somebody did something that somebody was planning on moving to, and you wouldn't think with all of the different actions that exist across the board, and the fact that you're only going to have a die in not even half of the total spaces by the time you're done, but there's a ton of interactivity, and there's enough of a race element for different things that you're working towards. And I think that adds another layer that Felds don't sometimes bring to the table.
Yeah,
it starts to really tighten up, though.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Dark Providence, this is a game where you got to pay attention to what everyone else is doing, because people will just beat you to the places you want to connect the things, or maybe the action you want. And you can't always tell where somebody's going to go, but you can be like, well, they're getting close to maybe connecting those 2 things. Can I get there first? And that's the big one, I think. Or they might accidentally just take the space you want.
the campfires too.
And the campfire. So those things you're racing for, and those are big deals. Like Tim took my last 2 actions that I wanted to do, and that really like hurt me at the end of the game.
I think that part of this was really, really fun. So I think there's 2 fun factors. One is what's the really fun mechanism to me in this, and what's the really fun, like what makes this game really fun. And that for me, the thing that I think would always keep me coming back to playing this is that the order in which you receive your upgrades and the choice you have to make between, like, you have to choose between one of the two that are there every time you unlock one was like, I think probably the most interesting mechanism in this game. But where I always have fun playing games like this, and this is like my favorite thing in every game this is present in many of my favorite games, is being able to, look down the road on like, hey, which of the clearings am I going to try to go to next? And what's my contingency plan if I can't get to this clearing? Like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to take this next turn, but if somebody flukes and does this, like, what's my other turn going to be? And I didn't get hosed, I think, too much this game, and that's sort of how I was able to, like, eke out every turn to be, like, maybe a little bit better than even the last one. But that wouldn't happen every time. Like, today I just kind of got lucky, which I think was probably a 30-point swing or something like that, with, like, being able to, like, do my route. But I think what would make this game, like, compelling for multiple plays was, like, when I get hit a little harder on people swooping in somewhere that I wanted to go. But I did feel the squeeze a little bit. Like, I wanted to build a couple more of those, like, pointy standing stones.
Same.
And then it was like, well, everybody built a couple of them, so we just can't do that anymore unless we want to make the potions. And then I looked at my mistletoe collection, and I was like, I haven't done this action at all, so I think I just got to stay out of this. And that's when I had to make a shift in that game, and I was like, well, if I'm not going to do this, what am I going to do? And that's when I started collecting goals, because people hadn't been doing that so much. And so, I don't know, I just think that, like, having your plans broken and being ready for it is, like, what makes this game really, really fun.
Yeah, this is a game, I think, if you're doing the thing other people aren't doing, that's probably good for you. I know that's the same for, like, a lot of games, but specifically in this one,
including not being in the areas.
Yeah, and, like, being able to see your path where you're going to go, like, that's something I really like. The board is always different. And sometimes, like, well, how do I get around to do this thing? And then there's a technology that lets you teleport inside the same green space. Usually in this game, I get frustrated because I run out of something. I got to take the bad druid turn, or I end up putting myself in a corner, and then I got to pay to get out of it. Today, I was like, I'm going to make sure I get all my dice, I get all my stuff, I take all my actions. And I think I did a pretty good job of that. Like, I just have not unlocked the next level of scoring in this game. Like, 150 around there seems to be, like, the maximum for me. And I've done that in a few games. And then I've been way worse than that in some other games. And obviously, like, I've seen multiple 200-point things in this game. And, like, there's another gear you can kick up into to reach that stuff.
So, Cam and I scored over 200 the first game. Cam scored over 200 this game. We both hammered flowers, like, out of the gate.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Okay.
I've done that, like, most games, and didn't matter. The problem is sometimes you take the technology. Like, I took the technology for the pointy things, and then I couldn't do any pointy things, right? So if you take a technology and then can't utilize it because those actions aren't available, I guess that's the other thing. Like, pre-planning your route, you can kind of see, like, oh, well, there's like 3 spaces in a row here that have these symbols. But then sometimes you got to stop and be like, okay, well, the other thing is I'm running out of this. I got to stop there to get dice, or I got to stop there to get provisions, kind of a thing. And that's the tricky part.
I actually didn't hammer flowers right out of the gate. Like, I didn't get all my flowers until later in the game. But what I did do was I looked at my first couple flowers and I said, I want that one. And I got it right away, and I used it, like, almost every turn in that game.
Yeah, I guess.
Which I think
you got
two or
three technology, like, right away.
Well, I got one right away, and then I got 2 more, like, a third of the way into the game,
right.
And then I got my last ones, like, near the end, actually. But
the first time I played this, I scored right about a 200, not quite, and I didn't do anything with flowers. Like, I had 2. So, like, there's a lot of different ways you can approach this and be really successful.
I think so. Want to get into some cons?
Yes. I think the main one that we're probably going to mention here is that it's no even fall, but its score track is rough. Like, you basically just have to count, and when you are sometimes scoring 20, 30 points in a turn, that's pretty rough on a thing that lasts to 50 and only has 10s, and it's not even like 10s are on the short side. I think it's 9 is what a short side is. Like, there's not a lot of quick ways to work around it, and that's annoying.
Yeah, they could have just put them in increments of 5, and it would have been a lot more helpful,
Definitely.
I think. I mean, mine is also board-based. It's hard to see everything going on the board because when there becomes a lot of dice and, like, little pillars and stuff on the board, being able to see what actions are where and what's left, that can be tough. Also, making sure you check, like, how things are connected. Sometimes you can easily miss that. There's been games where I've accidentally cornered myself on accident, and I realized there's no way out of here unless I pay to go back the way I came. The board's fairly busy as far as that goes.
Yeah, and score track board, you can't see past the dice to see the little.
Yeah, I mean, like you
jewels
could
and-
just like keep the dice somewhere else, like but stacking all that stuff on there.
I think I don't know what the track that lets you multiply your buildings and stuff at the end of the game.
Right.
What not having those be interlocking stackable is brutal because the order matters in that one, and they're so easily knocked off of each other, especially when you're moving the score track around a lot or grabbing dice, which are like right there, or so like not having those like the Kut and Aura, right? Don't those stack on top of each other? They lock. So that would be a big upgrade for this game.
Yeah, it's just you have to make sure you keep your dice separate from the dice you actually have. But I think if you created the pool of dice not on that board, it'd probably be better than trying to fit, because they literally have enough room for all 9 of your dice on that board if you put them in a 3x3 nice grid right together, you know? And like, oh, I want that one in the middle. I gotta fidget to get it out of there.
Yeah, and you don't roll them when you take them, which is both Cam and I did.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that leads me to, I guess it's probably a prawn. Like, you may or may not like this, but they offer 4 different variants in the back of the book. One of which is you all start with a objective tile. And the one I've been playing with after I played it a couple times is everyone, it actually says 3. I've only been giving out 2. Everybody gets 3 objective tiles and you pick one. I think that's a no-brainer, easy thing to do, especially if you're a gamer. But the other ones are, do you want everyone to kind of be playing on a more fair playing field or not? And I guess I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on that. So there's one where in the base version of the game, everyone randomly assigns their flowers to their board. So that means you're going to cut off those differently. There's one where some player sets those out and then everyone copies their thing. And there's one where you actually get to strategically pick where they are on the board. And then there's another one where we all roll like one person rolls the dice and then we all set the dice at the same numbers. Whereas here we're all playing with a different dice pool.
I'll tell you my thoughts. I
Yeah.
would never play with strategically placed the flowers. That just seems like an insanely mind-numbingly slow thing to do. And then like if people you're putting people at like a really disadvantage if they haven't played the game but other people have. But I could play with same dice or different dice. I think the randomness is fine. I could play with same flowers or different flowers. I think the randomness is fine. But I would prefer, I think, to play random because I just don't think it really has a huge effect on what you're capable of in the game. But I think it informs the way you play. And it kind of feels good to be like, here's what they've given me. And I was smart enough to figure out how to utilize it.
I think playing with the same flowers, you might even more so get in the problem where there's not the actions you want on the board.
Yeah, that's true.
I would
Right.
agree. I think I would, if I was playing with everybody that had played before, I think I wouldn't mind the placing your own flowers.
It'd be interesting to try and see what.
Because then you can guarantee, like, I don't think it would take that long. And for me, it'd be mostly like, okay, what are the first 2 flowers that I want? Kind of a thing.
Sure.
And pair those up with things that I don't want. So that'd be my only thought for that. But ultimately, I could play this game in any of those ways. I don't think it's probably worth the hassle of making all the dice the same. I think if you really want to mess with the dice, you get that flower that has the nugget on it, you know?
Well, I think there's a good balance with the dice. Yeah, the good balance with the dice and that like the higher the dice cost more, so then you have to take the provision action a little bit more.
Right.
So if you end up rolling really high, that it kind of balances itself out.
That's true. That's
So-
one thing I think is really cool. Like, you could just be like, oh, I got low dice. You could play the dice. I think you play the game completely differently whether or not your dice are like all really high or all really low.
I mean, I definitely did this game.
Because if you're all really low, you're like, well, then I don't really care about moving on the reputation track. And I'm not going to win very many things. I'm going to try to hammer out everything else.
I mean, I was in last place today, but I was competitive and right near, a couple of the point totals, and that was basically my game. I had 1x, I barely had any areas, and everything was cheap, but that also informed the way that I played it. So even though I would like to try it with setting up the order of things, I do kind of like the way that you look at what is in front of you regarding the value of your pips, the organization of your flowers, and then you make a game plan based on that. And I think that will keep it interesting long term because it's not so much of a defined meta that this is what you do.
But it also helps you play the game fast and with confidence. Like I'm gonna toot my friend Ryan Hendrickson's horn with Pirates of Maracaibo, but just the way that game is set up, I always can just go, here's my thing. Here's what I'm going to do. And then just go play it. And it's like a game that I love for that reason.
Yeah, you start with a contract, you do that here, and then you just kind of run down a path,
and,
right?
and you see what the scoring buildings are, and you see where different islands are at, and you look at that and you go, okay, well, this is what I'm going to try. And you can kind of do that with this one. What I really like about this one though is the not knowing what other people are going to do, and there being a limited amount of the player interaction that exists in this one can force you to like kind of change your mind in the middle of the game, and I think that's really fun.
I think, to jump back to a pro, I really like this at all the player counts. I don't know that it's any worse at 2. Like, I think it's cool how it scales. With 2 players, you have way less even with 3 players, you have way less interaction for the area majority, bigger dice type thing. Where it was 4 players, that happens a lot more frequently, and sometimes can happen multiple times because there's going to be multiple things on the board. But even in the 4-player game today, like Jake, you had part of the board that we didn't even touch. It was just yours.
Yeah, the way that the paths worked out, like it was so hard to get to that bottom corner. So, but yeah, it very much. But again, that's a neat thing about it. Like you're gonna have these little eccentricities of the board and how it's structured and how that plays in. Should we hit final thoughts?
I think so. Final thoughts time here on the Board Boys podcast. We have a 3-boing rating scale, 0 being the worst, 3 being the best. Your favorite game is a 4-boinger. Half boings are allowed. I think the 0-boing game of Druids of Edora.
All bad druid.
You have no antlers.
You just never have provisions. And yeah, the guy doesn't even have antlers on the box. What's up with that? And the 3-boing one is, you actually get to do all the things you wanted to do. Like today I was like, I want to put out all these pointy things. And then you guys did it. And then I couldn't do it. And then I was sad.
I put out 5 of my 6 pointy things.
You're the problem.
Yeah.
I put 0 out.
I put out 1.
I put
My
out
first
3.
3 actions were it. They right where I started, it was bop, bop,
The pointy
bop.
things were awesome. And like when I was like, oh, I'm going to get all these out and I'm going to have so much stuff. And then it was like,
They don't help you score though. Like
no.
and that's I leaned on it too much as a result of that.
So with that said, like flipping the tiles and putting them out, it's got to change the number of actions that are on the board.
Of what? Yeah. I don't know.
Because there were a lot of jewel actions all over the place. I remember that. Because I remember my last turn.
From fewer players, I think for sure.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, I guess, with... I can do my final thoughts first. In 2 players, I feel like it's... Even though you're not competing
I still feel like we got in our way, each other's way a bunch.
Yeah, but not till like way later in the game.
That's true.
And the other thing is, when you go to a spot, you only get 2 choices. And early on in this game, you get 4 choices. And you get 4 choices for quite a while, I feel like.
You could give this one the Carpe Diem treatment, and you could just play 2 players on a 4-player board. And then when the second, like...
You don't have to get rid of them, though, because you can't go back to the area.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to get rid of them. Yeah, you just do that. Yeah, because like Carpe Diem, you get the full amount, but then you just like push off the thing when you're done. And you could do that.
I'd be curious to try that. Just you'd have more choices.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd go wild on a 2-player game like that, though.
Yeah, I just think you wouldn't have to use provisions to.
So do it with the 3-player board, then do the 2-player on the 3-player board.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
You always have a choice.
Good thinking, Cam.
You don't always have a choice in 4-player, but
That's true.
But I never felt the squeeze too bad, and when I did, I liked it because it was like this game's making me think,
So for me, I think I'm gonna go 2.5 on this guy. I really, really like this game, and I don't know like how much replayability it has. I mean, I know you're doing the same thing a lot. The board and things can look different, but the game always feels fairly similar to me. But I really like the gameplay loop. It'll stay in my collection. It's a game that I am not very good at, but I still love it. Like, I want to keep playing it to get better. One of these times, maybe I'll win.
Probably not.
Probably not.
You get 290 points.
Yeah, maybe I just want to break 200. Like 150, the 150 zone seems to be my high point.
Is there a 250 marker?
No.
Ooh, so Feld doesn't think you can do it, huh?
Challenge accepted.
Okay, Feld.
All right,
I'll come to your school. I'll come into your principal's office.
Yeah, I'll go next. I like this game. I think all the pros we all had were like kind of the same. The resource management. For me, the biggest pro is its length. I think we played it in I learned it and we played it 2-player and it couldn't have been, it was probably 20 minutes. Like, And
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about how the length of this game is perfect, did we?
we talked about it a little bit, but what do it take tonight? 45 minutes?
I mean, it was an hour probably, but not a whole lot more than that.
Okay.
Tim, I have our playtime as 23 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's probably the actual playtime of the game after I taught you.
And I probably had a bunch of questions in the middle of it around some of the technology and things like that. So I think for me, that's like by far the biggest thing. And that just means you can get it to the table way more often. So that takes it from a 2 to 2.5 for me. I think just getting it out there and getting it played, I think is like lends something to a game like this.
I can go next. Again, I mentioned earlier I'm a big Feld stan. One of the things that Rob said I want to mention in regards to playability, I still haven't figured out the best way to enunciate what makes a game samey versus what makes it not feel that way for me. And I feel it's early, but I feel about this game that it does something similar to what Ruins of Arnak does for me. And it's not that you're doing things that are different, but it's how you do the things different to get to maximize the outcome will make it not wear down for me, is what I think. So I think for me, it's a 3. It's a great length. It is there's just enough of how you have to plan things out for it to really sing for me. And so I can see this very much being one of the Felds that I like the most and want to play more. And I do, again, to what has been said before, this is just much faster than some of the other ones that I also really, really like, that I think that makes it an easy 3 for me.
Setup isn't that long either. So
No, especially if you have 3D printed inserts and just pop stuff out. So,
and you can give a 4-boing under the new rules. So if you want to do that, you can.
I'm never going to like a game more than Agricola. So that's a pointless rule for me. So.
I mean, at this podcast, it doesn't matter if you like it more than
but you lose boing clout if you're always changing your 4-boing.
I will say I have the longest tenured 4-boing.
Me too.
No, you don't have a 4-boing. So yours is not tenured at all.
Yeah.
Well, I'd just say 3 of us have never changed our 4-boing game, right?
Exactly. All right, Cam.
Wait till I do it again.
It's hard for me to want to give this game a 3 only playing it once, especially because I do feel like it could feel like the depth isn't super high. But on the converse side, like all of the actions feel really good and the game is fun, and I could play it the same way I play Castles of Burgundy, where I'm just like enjoying a conversation with somebody and taking my actions. So I think I'm going to risk it and give it a 3. But it could end up in 2.5 territory for me. Dare I say 2 if I were to find something I felt like was really unbalanced. But it didn't feel that like any of the actions had a way higher point value than the others, and that any of the the technologies were so much more powerful than the others. I think it's just in the way you use them. I think all of them are exploitable, but you have to exploit them for them to feel stronger than the others. But it's really about the actions you take. I think you get the right amount of actions. The game time is like exquisitely good. So yeah, let's say 3, and I'll apologize if I'm wrong after buying this and playing it 10 times.
I know. I think that's why it approaches Burgundy level likeness for me. Like Civolution is my favorite. Yeah, Civolution is my favorite Feld, and Burgundy is a second, and this is really close to that. And it may flip flop too. I mean, just you can play this game in half the time you play Castles of Burgundy.
Burgundy's.
Is it weird that Civolution's my 4-boing, but I like Castles of Burgundy better?
Yes.
No, you didn't have 4-boings when we did Castles of Burgundy.
That's true.
No, but I would still give Civolution the 4-boing, I think, because it's such a monument. It's such a feat. But Castles of Burgundy is really, really, really good. Really astoundingly good game.
Cool. All right. Well, that'll wrap us up for Druids of Edora. Now that we have Cam, I've been saying this like every time we do this, and Rob was supposed to insert you singing, and he's never done it. So can you just give us a theme song for Bumper Dump?
Oh, yeah. So it goes like this. There's a Diddy song, just so you guys know. Diddy was involved in this one. Baby, turn around. I want to see that sexy board game go. Board boys bump.
Or dump.
All right. We got 3 tonight. 3 2-player games. It was Duel for Middle-earth. It is King of Tokyo Duel, and Star Wars, the deck building game. Star Wars deck building game actually strictly 2 players?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start with Duel for Middle-earth was 8.4 for 60.
Huge bump.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, huge in that it went to 22. I don't know. Like, is that huge? It's at 22. So
That's
it was
high.
at 60.
it was at 60. Went to 22. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say
it's hard to climb
a
those.
massive bump.
All right. Sweet. 7.2 for 3560 for King of Tokyo Duel. it is a 7.1.
I'm sure that bumped as well.
Yeah, 2008. And then the last one, 7.9, 228 for Star Wars, the deck building game. It's still 7.8 now.
Sure, it's a bump.
Barely.
All bumps.
Barely. No, 222. It barely went up.
maybe.
So 6 spots.
Who was the other person on this
Jeremy, I
episode?
think.
Oh,
Jeremy.
Okay.
It was Joe.
Oh,
Joe.
no, Joe did the Blitzkrieg. Caesar. I think this
Well,
was Jeremy.
Was it a guest?
It was a guest.
Okay.
I think it was Jeremy.
All right. Yeah, Joe definitely did the other.
Dogfight, Blitzkrieg.
Yeah. Well, I have played 2 of the 3 of these games since then. The deck building game just doesn't come out enough, but it's so good. I don't know why. I mean, I like Star Wars, so I should probably just play it more.
Where did you land on the art for Duel for Middle Earth?
Oh, I like it now. Like, I think the Golem art is dumb, but overall, it's cool.
I've only played that one of the 3, and I really enjoy it. And my son Wally is obsessed with King of Tokyo, so I don't know why I haven't played King of Tokyo Duel.
I
It's
mean,
fun.
King
Yeah.
of Tokyo Duel is so good.
You can borrow it anytime you want to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same. I think it's like just soup. Like, if you're gonna play King of Tokyo, you should play King of Tokyo Duel. If you have 2 people, play King of Tokyo Duel instead of King of Tokyo. I mean, it's what it's made for, and you get the feeling of the push and pull of the.
King of Tokyo Duel
stuff.
is tight. That game is really good.
Yeah, it's on BGA, isn't it?
It is.
I guess the big thing would be Lord of the Rings Duel. It released a little small expansion that I think is pretty cool. The little card pack. Basically, you just put out these tokens on the cards, and when you take that card, you get to take like a bonus card that gives you like a one-time ability. I don't remember. I've only played with them one time,
I only played with it once too.
but it's a really
Tech.
small expansion.
It's basically like technology. I don't remember if they're like one time or
Yeah,
multi-use.
fairly inexpensive. Like and they're kind of bigger cards too, and they come in like a little booster pack, which is kind of cute.
Yeah, like you're buying a Magic the Gathering pack or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I think I might design a meta board game called Duel.
And make it for 4 players.
That's actually the best idea you've had all night.
Thanks.
And I'm not saying you got bad ideas. I'm just saying, like, the fact that
Like, you're gonna make a duel game that is not 2 players.
well, the thing is,
You
like,
should make it an odd number.
not for fun.
Yeah.
Well, Duel. Maybe is a solo game.
Duel is you have a 5-player game, and the cover has something to do with all the Spider-Mans that are pointing at each other in different
Oh,
ways.
there you go.
Yeah.
So you have to design Duel as well. Maybe Duel's a 4-player game, and then Duel's a 2-player game.
Or Duel.
Duel. Yeah,
Doyle rules.
yeah.
That's a throwback.
all right, if you want to give us feedback on any of these in our bump and dump, you can do so through our Board Game Geek Guild, which you find on the website. We got a couple here. BJ from Board Game Gumbo says he played Duel for Middle Earth with Mitchell, who thematically wore sandals at the time. I thought it was a very good interpretation of the Seven Wonders duel system. Honestly, I'd much rather play Middle Earth than Seven Wonders version. I would agree with that. And he said it was 2 boings. Chris Yee, Duel for Middle Earth is 3 boings. It's got to be a bump on overall rating too, as I think it's been grown more popular and definitely grown on him. King of Tokyo Duel is a dumper. 1 boing. He did not like that apparently. So, while some of the ideas are nice improvement from the original King of Tokyo, it just doesn't do enough for me. Star Wars deck building game is neat, solid 2 boings. Not one I'll often reach for, but I'm happy to play when I do. Part of the problem is that I will try to play Star Wars Unlimited instead.
That's the CCG, the collectible card game version.
Okay.
Which is pretty fun, but it's collectible. So
Yeah.
buyer beware.
Yeah. And then Joel R. I've only played Lord of the Rings Duel once, but I found the new area control more interesting than the military track in Seven Wonders Duel. I wasn't really able to get into the theme, but I like I feel like it improved the future plays as I adjusted to the changes from Seven Wonders Duel, 2.5 boings. I've also played a couple rounds of Star Wars deck building. It felt same as Star Realms with the theme pasted on. Is it based off that game?
As far as it has like it is similar mechanically for sure. It has the cool thing that the deck building game does is you can assassinate other people's cards out of the card row. Yeah. So like if you can't buy it because it's not your faction, then you can attack it and get rid of it and get stuff for it.
Yeah, so that was a turnoff for him since the designers aren't the same. Don't plan on coming back to that again. 1.5 points. That's it.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Board Boys Podcast, Season 18, Episode 4, The Druids of Edora. You go to theboardboys.com and get links to all our stuff there, the social media. We post stuff. My brain. We have social media links out there where we post pictures and games we've been playing. We have a link to our Discord where you can join us there and chat and get into some BGA games. You can also get the Patreon link or theboardboys.com/Patreon if you want to become a Patreon supporter. We'd highly appreciate it. We also appreciate good reviews, so you could leave them there on iTunes or Spotify. BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Timothy Crisco, Shifty Teeth, Jordan Smith, Andre Bosch, Braden Dowdy, Rob Cooper, Richard Lane, Matt Kelly, Portland Gamecraft, Terry Ward, Mark D. Quattro, and Jeremy Thoman. Thanks again, everybody, and until next time, we hope you like board games. I'd like to thank our patrons now. BJ from Board...
Did you make sure to give a shout out to GJ from Board Game Bumbo?
I think we could come up with a bunch of those.
GJ from Wait, no. Yeah, okay, I'm done.
Peace out.